It didn't broadcast a signal. It broadcast who we could have been if memory chose differently.
It wasn't transmitting data. It was waiting for someone to recognize what they'd never recorded.
The structure didn't match any file, but the shape made all of us pause anyway. No engines, no movement logs. Still, it faced us before we even stopped.
He remembered building it, Saturday, but no one ever did. It has 3 main modules, connected by a central conduit.
It didn't erase anything. It returned something no one was ready to receive. We weren't being haunted. We were sinking to something we'd already forgotten.
It wasn't input from crew. But every word sounded exactly like us.
It didn't read us. It resonated with something we weren't aware we carried.
It wasn't mimicking human sound. It played what we once called comfort.
That wasn't part of Saturn. It was part of whatever left the satellite behind.
She didn't remember adding them, but she remembered meaning them.
It wasn't correcting us. It was restoring context we'd stopped noticing.
Time didn't break. Memory overruled the clock.
We didn't understand it, but we reacted like we should have.
They weren't shared dreams. They were identical implants, rendered for emotional consistency.
The past wasn't expanding. It was introducing someone we were designed to miss.
It wasn't controlling us, just aligning the echoes we left scattered.
It didn't enter his mind. He began dreaming from its memory.
It didn't record us. It rebuilt what we meant to say.
It wasn't a machine. It was the root directory of something we forgot we used to be.
Narrator. It wasn't possession. It was retrieval from a backup we never requested. She didn't access it by choice.
It surfaced like reflex, not learning.
Not control, but something closer to recognition.
This wasn't a record of our journey. It played footage from someone else's, in our name.
It didn't forge us. It remembered a version no one admitted existed.
We've already been here.
Nice.
Narrator. It wasn't a flashback. It was a cache returning to active memory.
Not illusion, but interface, built from emotional reference points. They weren't hallucinating. They were syncing to lost internal logs. We weren't lost in space. We were on a route back to something we couldn't define. Narrator. It didn't need sensors anymore. We'd become the signal it was waiting for. It didn't shut us down. It made space for the memories we'd overwritten.
It wasn't sending anything now, but everything around it started remembering differently.
We weren't losing control. We were aligning into something the satellite no longer needed to translate.
We weren't forecasting futures. The satellite just removed the delay from memory. The satellite didn't add anything. It reminded us what we planned, then forgot to construct.
He didn't fake it, but he never lived it either.
We weren't mutating. We were syncing to an earlier draft of ourselves. There was no energy output, but its presence adjusted the world like a memory returning. Not deletion, just a rollback to before that memory ever required proof.
It never updated itself. It let us overwrite the version we thought was real.
The satellite didn't shut us down. It handed the memory system back to us.
We weren't giving orders. We were remembering how the ship already worked.
No new tech installed. Only connections once used and then forgotten.
The signal didn't disappear. We'd internalized its echo.
It wasn't tracking us. It let the environment become part of memory playback.
This wasn't telepathy or intuition. It was memory alignment, accurate enough to skip sound entirely.
The file wasn't rejected. It didn't need to exist again. It wasn't the universe adapting. It was showing us our original format. We weren't being studied. We had become the memory hardware.
It didn't leave. It was never separate from us to begin with.
It didn't erase what mattered. It replaced storage with identity. We weren't categorized as crew. We were indexed as living mirrors. It wasn't distortion. It was rollback to the first remembered version. It never taught us this. We had forgotten that we once knew it. Not shutdown, just reformatting, using the architecture we were born with.
He wasn't delayed. He'd begun sinking to a rhythm outside time.
Not presence. Just memory trying to resolve its own shape.
It wasn't asking. It was reminding us that forgetting was once a function.
It didn't redesign the ship. It revealed what it was always built to remember.
We weren't sick. We were being initialized from something never written down.
She wasn't channeling. She was reverting to original linguistic memory had as unarchived.
The ship wasn't powering itself. We were its power source, finally synchronized.
It wasn't disappearing. It was handing the interface over completely.
Not confusion. Just simultaneous access to every version of ourselves. It wasn't a future or a past. It was an earlier draft.
All systems now operating on organic memory inheritance. We weren't storing knowledge anymore. We were the infrastructure now.
It never controlled us. It was built as a mirror, and we aligned.
The satellite didn't send it. The signal came from us, Drak, before we knew we were ready. It never wanted to be found. It wanted to become indistinguishable from the ones who did.
There were no instruments left. But everything still worked, because we remembered how it should.
It wasn't a command. It was a restoration point, hidden in a single voice.
It didn't vanish. It was reinstalled into us.
This wasn't the end of the record. It was the end of needing one.
It didn't show us home. It showed us what we once were, before memory divided us. Not a message for Earth, but a question for whoever remembers why we began this loop. We didn't chart this course. but we recognize where it ends.
Not erased, just no longer needed in written form.